Oh, okay. I know that's right. Hello, friends. Welcome back to another weekly vlog. And this vlog is going to be a little bit different, something that I've never done before. We are going to do a challenge this week and see how many pages can I read this week in total. So let's see how much we can do, especially with having a 9 to 5, a full-time job. I want to see and challenge myself to see how many pages I can read. I was thinking about this challenge and I wasn't sure if I should set a goal for myself because I don't want to aim too low, but also set something that might be unrealistic. But also, it's a challenge, you know, we have to challenge ourselves literally. So I'm wondering, I'm thinking I'm going to set my goal to 300 pages. That might be a little bit low, but yeah, I'm going to set my goal to 300 pages. So I'm going to aim to read 300 pages this week. But if I read more, great. And if I don't, I guess we'll find out, right? So there's that. I'm excited to do this little challenge. Today is Sunday. It's Mother's Day. I did spend this morning reading already, so I'll show you how much I've been reading and the book that I'm reading so far. Okay, so this morning I was reading Real by Kennedy Ryan. If you saw my last video, you know that I was getting started on this book, and I'm pretty much 50% of the way there based on how much I've been tracking on Goodreads, and I am Kennedy Ryan, she just does something, you know, like every single book, she just does something. And I am loving this book so far. Yeah, I am loving it so far. So I did read 40 pages. I'll do a little page counter, 40 pages so far. So we are starting off on a good note, but today is Sunday and obviously I have a little bit more time. So yeah, I'm able to read a little bit more, but yeah, I'm loving Real so much. So the premise of this book is basically about an actress named Neva. She got her big break on Broadway. She was an understudy for this role for a while, and then finally the understudy went on vacation and Neva was able to have her time to shine, be on stage and let everyone see her talents and what she's actually capable of. And at this particular show, she gets discovered by this huge director named Kanan Holt, and as soon as he sees her on stage, he's obsessed. He loves her talents. He sees what she's capable of doing. He's like, yes, I need her for my next big and upcoming project. So he's able to hire her as the main role of this up and coming project, this movie that he's going to be directing. And, you know, the lines are kind of getting blurred a little bit. There's some gray areas that they're kind of dealing with in terms of their interest for each other. Mind you, he's had a situation before where he's gotten into a relationship with someone who he was doing a movie with, and it ended up being not the greatest outcome that he wasn't expecting. So for him, it's like, wow, there's a lot of tension between the two of them as they're going through and working on this movie, and he doesn't want to cross a line and she doesn't want to cross a line either, but there's so much tension between the two. They are how can I say it, there's a lot of tension, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of tension. So I'll leave it at that. When I do my book reviews, I don't like to spoil it too much, so I won't spoil it too much for you guys, but I will say I am liking it a lot so far. I know this book came out a while ago, but I'm actually reading this with my friend, so we're reading it together and we're gonna like chit chat about the book that we've read so far. I actually wanted to take my time in reading this because I know that Score, which is also, it's like book 2 in this series, the Renaissance series, Score is coming out on the 19th, and so I'm excited to read that. I also have Close Up, which is like considered 1.5 of the series. So there's Real, then there's Close Up, which is basically a smaller novella love story, and then there's Score. So I'm excited to read all 3 of them back to back just to be in that flow and really be in touch with all of the characters. But yeah, so we are starting off on a great note. I'm going to see how many pages I'm going to be able to read this week for 7 days, so Sunday to Sunday. Tomorrow we'll obviously be back at work, and we'll try to get as much as we can in. But right now, I'm about to head out. Today's Mother's Day. We're having a cute little brunch at home. So I'm going to head out, get a couple things, and then, yeah, hang out with my mother, my grandmother, and some of my family. So I'll see you guys in a bit. So I had stopped in Trader Joe's just to pick up some flowers real quick before I go. And he said, the cashier, he was like, are these the flowers you wanted, or did you just come too late? Because I love going to Trader Joe's for the flowers. Like, they have some of the best flowers, but I didn't really have enough time to make a full-on bouquet, so I was hoping, all right, I could just go there and pick up a bouquet. But obviously on Mother's Day, their bouquets are gonna fly off the shelves, so I ended up just getting these orchids. I feel like they're a unique flower. You don't typically see those as like a gift as a flower. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just get these because, yeah, all of their bouquets were obviously gone by the time I got there. He was like, yeah, we had all of these shelves filled with flowers and they just flew off the shelves. So I was like, dang. So my only choice was to just get orchids, but they're still pretty. I ended up getting some where they're not fully bloomed so that they can last a little bit longer. I thought it was actually kind of funny because he was like, are these the ones you actually wanted, or were you looking for a bouquet too? Because my favorite flower is actually hydrangeas. I don't think I saw any hydrangeas left. And then my mother's favorite flower are lilies, so, and they didn't have those either, so I just got what I could. Hello, y'all. It is Monday and I'm currently on my lunch break. I'm just chilling in my car. I already ate my lunch, but sometimes on my lunch break, I like to just go to my car and either read or just be on my phone or a mix of both. So that's what we're doing today, just to get away from my desk. You know what I mean? But I did want to give an update on how many pages I've read so far. So yesterday night, I read like 12 pages of a different book. So I'm taking a pause on Reel for now until I discuss with my friend tonight. And then I jumped back into Judge Stone. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the video already, but I'm also reading Judge Stone as a book club read. I read like 12 pages last night because I was starting to fall asleep. But the spot that I did stop at was actually getting pretty good. So I'm pretty early on in the book, so there's not really much info that I can give you guys on like what's happening. Like, it's more so in the scene setting right now. Like, we're setting the scene, we're understanding who the characters are and getting to know them a little bit, you know, taking things a little by little. So far, so good. I'm liking it. I actually brought it with me because one thing about me, this little book pouch, I keep this thing on me, okay? I keep that thing on me. So I'm just going to read Judge Stone a little bit in my car. So my total count for pages read so far is 52 pages. I'm keeping track on a note so that I don't forget and, you know, can total the amount of pages that I'm reading every single day. So yesterday I read a total of 52 pages, which was 40 in Reel and then 12 on Judge Stone. So I feel like that's not bad, you know, for yesterday being Mother's Day and just having a little bit of time to myself. So the whole idea or reason why I'm doing this is because I want to see how many pages I can read while actually having a life, while having a job, because as much as I'd love to be a full-time book content creator, the reality of my life, I have things going on. I'm planning a wedding, I go to work, I go to the gym, I have to clean and all this other stuff. So I wanted to just see like what is the realistic amount of pages that I can read in a week. And so I'm excited to do this video and see like what the total will be by the end of the week. I will say that I will be prioritizing reading over like social media or like watching TV. I want to do that as much as possible because sometimes I just get in the habit of like scrolling too much. Yeah, that is the whole idea and reason behind this video. So I'm gonna read a little bit of Judge Stone, see how many pages I can get in on my break, and then I'll talk to you guys later. Hello, friends. It is Tuesday and we are working from home today. So, made me a nice little iced coffee this morning and I'm starting to feel it already. So, we're feeling good right now. But yeah, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on my reading status so far. So, last time you guys saw me pick up a book was yesterday on my lunch break. And I'm going to be honest, I haven't picked up a book since. I think I read, let me check my notes. So I read on my lunch break, I read 23 pages of Judge Stone. So not bad for the little time that I had on my lunch break. But yeah, yesterday when I got home from work, I just relaxed for a little bit. I've been getting into UGC content, so I've been making content for brands. So I had to make a couple videos and some content for brands. And then I did Pilates, and then I made dinner, and then I was just getting ready for bed. And I was also yapping with my friend about Reel. So yeah, we were doing a lot yesterday, so I didn't really get to pick up a book since. So our total so far is 75 pages, which I feel like is okay with the amount of time that I've had. And also, I just wanted to mention, I am not the fastest reader. I am not the fastest reader, especially when it comes to, like, for example, with Reel, I feel like I have to read a little bit slower because the print is like very small and or smaller than typical books that I've read. And also, like, she be throwing in some words in there that I gotta go look up and see what the meaning is. Depending on the book, I can read a little bit faster, a little bit slower. But I did want to talk about Judge Stone a little bit. I am liking it so far. I feel like we're starting to get into some meat and potatoes of the book. So basically, there's three main characters that we're following so far. There's, first of all, it takes place in Alabama, and there's Judge Stone, who's this prominent judge in the state. She has years of experience. She's done, these heavy cases. Has been the judge on these heavy cases. There's Dr. Bria, who's well known as being one of the only and main female doctors in the area in the state of Alabama. And then there's Nova, who's a 13-year-old girl. So the book starts off with Nova going to Dr. Bria to get an abortion, and she's 13 years old. We don't know who impregnated her. We don't know, what happened, what led to her getting pregnant or anything like that. And also wanted to note that her mother did not bring her to get the abortion. So someone else had brought her to get the abortion. So that's something that's very important. Another thing is Judge Stone is very well known in this town. Everyone pretty much knows her and they respect her. And she also has this farm where every Sunday she'll allow people in the community to come over and have a nice home cooked meal. So she'll have breakfast where people can just come in after church and, have a nice breakfast and sit down with their families. And that's when she starts to see Nova with her mother and how they're acting and how her mother her mother seems very hard on Nova. Her mother also has a younger child as well. So Nova has a younger sibling that she's often taking care of or looking after, rather. But in one chapter, we get to see Nova, her younger sibling, and her mother's dynamic a little bit more. Her mother says, "Hey, go bring your child to Dollar Tree and go get me a list of this stuff that I need." And Nova's bringing her younger sibling, and you can tell that she has this love for her younger sibling, showing her younger sibling like the flowers and the plants and showing their younger sibling nature and explaining like what particular flowers meant. She spent a lot of time talking about flowers on their way to Dollar Tree, but on their way she started to feel these crazy cramps, like her stomach was hurting, got to a point where she couldn't even walk. So she headed back home, and then all of a sudden she's just on the floor. She feels like she's dying essentially, and her mother takes her to the doctor, and that's when Nova kind of confesses that she had an abortion and her mother had no idea about it. So Yeah, I'm gonna stop right there because I don't want to give too much detail about it for anyone who wants to read, but it's pretty interesting so far. Very curious to see how things are going to play out. But in chapters where we get to hear a little bit more about Judge Stone and her communication with the DA and the attorneys and all of that, it's giving very much Law and Order. So I love that so far. So basically, I read up until page 74, and I need to read up until page 118 for the book club discussion. We basically broke the book down into 4 parts, and then we're going to discuss once a week. And the book club is our close friends of mine, so we don't mind discussing once a week. I plan to finish Real this weekend.
You lift my heart up when the rest of me is down. You enchant me even when you're not around. If there are boundaries, I will try to knock them down. I'm latching on, babe. Now I know.
It's getting spicy again. It is getting spicy. Oh, okay. I know that's right. All right, y'all, it is Friday. I actually haven't picked you guys up since like Tuesday, I believe, to like chit chat, but I've still been giving you guys updates on my progress so far. First of all, yesterday, I will say I did get a lot of reading in. I got some reading in before I left for work. I had like an extra 10 minutes. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to read for a little bit before I have to leave to go to the office. I also read on my lunch break. I didn't go to the car though. I just stayed inside. Also, when I came back home, I was reading a little bit before my Pilates class, and then I was reading a little bit before bed. So we got a good amount of reading in yesterday. I actually wanted to talk about Real. I actually did finish today. I finished Real today, and I read a total of 55 pages today. So my total overall is 296 pages for the week. So I feel like we're pretty much at our goal. Tomorrow will be our last day of the challenge. So we're pretty much at our goal, which is pretty nice. How many times am I going to say pretty? But yeah, I did want to talk about Real so far. First of all, I am giving this book a 5 stars. And it's funny because as I was reading this, typically I'll have in my head like the rating of the book as I'm reading. And then depending on how it progresses, I'll either give it another star or take away a star, you know? But I would say like for the first half of the book, I was giving it like a 4 stars. Like I was really liking it. I was really enjoying the book. But then the second half of the book, it just drew me in. Like I did not want to put it down. It was so good. It was very emotion packed, and also want to point out this is a pretty spicy one. So if you like romances that are spicy, and you know what I mean by spicy, definitely pick up Real if you haven't read it already. So I definitely enjoyed that aspect of it. But alongside with that, there were just so many emotions in this book, and I just really loved seeing the progression of their story together individually and as a couple as we got to the end of the book. And I will say though, I did not like Kanan in the beginning, and I feel like a lot of people are going to have the same sentiments and are going to feel the same way whether you've read it or plan to read it. I did not like Kanan in the beginning. As we got and progressed through the book, I will say that Kanan was a complete 180 for me. Like, he surprised me as a character, and I loved seeing that transformation of him being like this standoffish director, snobby director, to being this very loving and caring guy. Like, he was just shocking me in terms of how he really showed up for Neva. And one thing I love about Kennedy Ryan with the books that I've read so far from her, she really does a good job in pairing this beautiful romance story with real, raw life challenges that feels relatable. Even if you're not going through the same exact thing literally, you still feel like you can relate to the story, and it doesn't feel outlandish. It feels real, it feels relatable, it feels like someone I know is going through the same thing, or someone I know has a similar story, or even yourself, if you can relate. So that's something that I really enjoy about Kennedy Ryan's writing, is that she just does a really good job with romance. I'm going to say I would say for all of the books that I've read from her, nothing less than 4 stars, nothing less than 4 stars. So obviously I have my favorites, but nothing less than 4 stars. And this has definitely been added to one of my favorites. And yeah, there were just so many aspects to it. One thing I will mention is that I felt like there were so many similarities and parallels between the different characters. For example, I don't want to give too much away, but I felt like there were a lot of similarities between not only Neva and the character that she was playing, Desi, the character that she was playing in the movie. There were so many similarities between those stories, and you kind of felt that, and not even in just a literal sense, but some of the feelings that they had. I also really liked that there were some family challenges that were spoken about. And I feel like, a lot of people can relate to that, where there may be someone in your family that you were close to once upon a time, but then there was a falling out. Kennedy Ryan, she just really does a great job in creating those relatable stories. So, like I said, I don't want to spoil too much. I don't like to spoil too much because some people might have read it and others may have not, or maybe on their list. So I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, like I said, I gave this one a 5 star. It's definitely one of my favorites from her, and I cannot wait to read Score. It's coming out the 19th, so pretty much in a few days. Today is the 15th. So yeah, we're about to get Score soon, but I am going to read The Close Up first, which is a shorter novella that I had mentioned before, which is 1.5 of the series. I'm wondering, though, if she's going to have a third book in the series. I feel like that's kind of her thing, is a trilogy type of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah. That's how I feel after finishing. I'm like, it was just so good. So now that I'm done with that, I feel like I'll have a little bit of time to get some reading in, but I'm definitely not getting any more reading in tonight. Tomorrow, I have a few things to get done, so I'm not sure how much reading I'll actually get done, but it'll definitely surpass the 300-page mark. I know that for a fact. So yeah, just wanted to give you guys an update, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Siri, set a timer for 20 minutes. Happy Saturday. I am picking Judge Stone back up after finishing Real yesterday, and I just wanted to mention how much of a high I am still on from that book. Being on that post-book high is probably one of the best feelings. I felt so connected to the story and the characters, and I just love when a book gives me the feels and just creates emotional impact. I felt so enthralled by the book and the storyline, and honestly, I feel like Kennedy Ryan, she just does a good job at that. She does a good job with connecting with the readers, and that's how you know she's a really good author. But I've really enjoyed this challenge, and I hope it inspired you in some way or capacity. Even if you can only get 10 pages of reading in for the week, you're still making time for yourself to just relax and read freely. There's no competition. Yes, you can set goals for yourself, but this is all for leisure. This is all for fun. So at the end of the day, just remember that. All right, y'all, we are at the end of the week. That is it. That concludes this challenge. My total for the week was 316 pages, which we surpassed our goal. We accomplished our goal. So that is pretty good. Could I have read more? Probably. But you know what? For our next challenge, when we do this again, my goal will probably be to surpass this goal. And honestly, this past week, I did have quite a few things to do along with work. Also, my energy was kind of low, so not making excuses, but yeah. But either way, I still feel like that was pretty good for the week. And yeah, so that concludes today's vlog. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and as always, my Goodreads link is down below in the description box. So if you want to be friends on Goodreads, definitely click on the link below. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.